Hey guys, it's Bethany, your crafty BFF, and I am on today for a tutorial of this not so mini album that I made for the third place winner of my Road to 1000 Subbies Challenge giveaway. Before I do a tutorial, I always like to do a flip through of the album so that you know what we're going to make, how it's going to turn out, and see if you want to follow the tutorial. So I am going to grab my ruler. This cover is 7.5 by 9.5, and it has a 3-inch spine. As you can see here, I've used the collection Rainbow Avenue to decorate this album. I've used some seam binding as my closure. On the inside front cover, we have a flap with a pocket that has some photo mats inside. I do use magnets on my flip closures. So that is a magnetic closure. Page 1 here, this flips down, and this is a waterfall that can hold 4 7/8 by 3 7/8 photos. So there's that page. It also had the waterfall is actually on a belly band, so there is a photo mat here behind this belly band. Each pocket is a pocket page that also has a photo mat. Pages 2 and 3 are twin pages. They both flip. The left one flips to the left and has a 4x4-inch pop-up, and this one flips to the right and also has a 4x4 pop-up. There's that. Page 4 has a tall vertical pocket. There are some photo mats here in the pocket. And then on top of the pocket, I designed this little 6x6 booklet that has this little closure here. And it has 4 pages, so I'll just flip through that for you. And then you have room here on the pocket for photos as well. Page 5 looks like a plain page, but it's actually a hidden surprise because when you open it up, it has a twist and pop feature. I will be showing you how to do that, as well as the waterfall, the 2 4x4 pop-ups, and also a pull down waterfall in this tutorial. This page 6, I believe, has a little opening here, and this is a side pocket, so it has some photo mats in the side pocket. You can put photos here, and even on the pocket itself if you so choose. This page is a vertical flip up and a vertical flip down, like so. I used a little cut apart here for the magnetic closure. Page 8 has that pull down waterfall I was talking about. It holds 5x4-inch photos. You can even put photos here on this pull down as well. And then last but not least, the inside back cover is the same as the front cover, has this flip up with some photo mats and some ephemera that I'm sharing with the winner, and this pocket here on the bottom. So if you are interested in learning how to make this album, go ahead and continue watching. Follow along with me. Um, unfortunately, guys, I have very limited um, storage on my phone, so this is going to be at least a 3-parter tutorial, if not a 4-parter. I've planned it to be a 3, but things sometimes go unexpectedly, so either way, I will have all all the video parts linked in the description box for each video. And so I've broken it down to where in this first video we're going to wrap our chipboard and then do our spine piece and attach it. In part 2 we're going to do the page construction and build all the interactions. And then in part 3 we're going to do the matting with the designer paper and then adding the pop-ups and waterfalls. You have to mat with the designer paper before you add those features. So that's what we're going to do. Like I said, sometimes we run into unexpected things as crafters, but hopefully we can get this done in 3 parts. I think I'm going to use Gingham Gardens from Crate Paper to do the matting in this tutorial. One more thing before we get started. Not everyone knows. I don't mind sharing this. In fact, I like to share it so that people understand what's going on with me. I have an autoimmune disorder that acts up about once a month, and it makes me have allergy-like symptoms. So I get itchy, my eyes get watery and itchy. I get the sniffles, I get a little bit of a cough, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's no medicine I can take. No matter how much I blow my nose, I'll still sniffle, and it's just something that I live with. I put up with it myself. I hope you can deal with it too. If you can, and you want to make this album, I really appreciate you sticking around. I really appreciate your support, and let's go ahead and get started on this tutorial. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me, so sorry. There's the coughing, like I said. It is currently 2 o'clock in the morning. I got home from a concert earlier tonight and I can't sleep, so I decided I'd at least do part 1 of this tutorial. Before we do this, let's talk about our chipboard pieces. So you're going to need 3 pieces of chipboard. 2 of them are 9.5 by 7.5. This is your front and back cover. And then for your spine piece, you need a piece that is 3 inches by 9.5 inches. Once you have those cut out, you're going to take 2 pieces of 65-pound 12 by 12 cardstock. And we're going to attach these 2 pieces of cardstock together just like this. So I'm going to use my 1/2 inch double-sided tape. I'm going to put it right down here on the edge of my paper. I'm going to use my bone folder here to varnish that down. I'm going to grab a pokey tool. And peel this up. I'm also going to add just a little bit of wet glue. Maybe. I just unclogged my glue and it's already clogged again, so forgive me. Excuse me. Okay, hopefully that does it. Yep. And I'm going to add my wet adhesive on top of my double-sided tape because I don't trust double-sided tape by itself. That's just me. it doesn't work for me by itself, but also the wet adhesive gives me a few extra seconds to adjust if I don't get it the paper laid down right. So it's kind of hard to see over my tripod. I'm gonna do the best I can. Doesn't have to be perfect, just close to it, you know. I'm using my bone folder to varnish that down. And there we have our two pieces of 12 by 12 chip 65-pound cardstock to wrap our chipboard. I always say use the 65-pound to wrap chipboard because the 110-pound is too thick. It's not flexible enough to bend around the chipboard, and it will crack if you try to use it. I know this from experience. Okay, I totally forgot to get my Tyvek. Do I have a piece I can use? No, of course not. Okay. Big bummer. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this work with what I have. Okay. If you're not aware, Tyvek is a very strong paper. It cannot be torn. I can sit here and try to tear it, but it won't tear. And so people who make albums like to use it because even if your 65-pound cardstock ever rips or tears or cracks, you have that Tyvek backing you up. This Tyvek, now you can like order Tyvek from I believe from Amazon and specialty craft stores, but I just reuse these mailing envelopes from USPS, and that's what I do. So that was already starting to tear, and so a little bit of it, one small layer tore off of it, but I'm just going to cut the rest of that. Now I had these two small pieces. I'm gluing them together so that I can use them. Before we glue our chipboard down to those two pieces of 12 by 12 that we glued together, we're going to glue it down to the Tyvek first. So I'm actually completely out of my 1-inch double-sided tape, so I'm just going to stick with my wet adhesive for this tutorial. I have in the past skipped on the double-sided tape, and it was not a big deal. Everything still came together and still lasted, so I don't have to have that double-sided tape and the wet adhesive to put my chipboard down. Okay, so what I'm doing is I am gluing my spine piece down to this piece of Tyvek, like so. And you only need a small piece of the Tyvek because you only need it where your chipboard is coming together, if that makes sense. Here, we are going right next to the 3-inch spine piece. We're going to put down one of our 9.5 by 7.5 inch pieces. I'm just going to add glue here directly to the Tyvek, leaving about 1/8 of an inch gap between my two chipboard pieces, like so. Now, you don't have to use Tyvek by any means, but if you want your albums to last a long time and you worry about frequent flipping through and stuff like that, then I suggest using the Tyvek. I use the Tyvek because I sell my albums and I want them to be quality and I want them to last. Okay, so now I'm adding my glue here to the left side of my spine, and I'm just going to add this other 9.5 by 7.5 inch piece. Again, leaving about 1/8 of an inch gap between the two pieces, like so. Use my bone folder to really spread that glue around underneath. And there we have it. Now I'm going to trim this Tyvek because we only need it right here where the for the chipboard. So I'm just going to trim this down. I'm glad I at least had those two little pieces that I could glue together and make this work, because my Tyvek is currently unreachable in my craft room. I've been reorganizing some things, and yeah, I totally forgot to grab it. Okay, now that we have our chipboard glued down to our Tyvek, this is what it should look like. And now we can take our two pieces of 12 by 12 65-pound cardstock and add it to our chipboard to this these two pieces of cardstock. Sorry, it's getting late. Like I said, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm just going to generously apply my glue all over the back of my chipboard and my Tyvek. If you would rather use double-sided tape with or without your wet adhesive, you do you. You go right ahead and do that. But for time's sake, and because I know it will work with just the wet adhesive, I'm only using the wet adhesive today. Okay, so now we're going to place our spine piece of chipboard right down the middle of where our two pieces of cardstock meet. I think you should be able to see this line where the two pieces meet. And I'm going to center this the best that I can. In the middle of my cardstock. And that ought to do it. I'm going to go ahead and lay it down. Use my bone folder here to really spread that glue around and get it stuck down. Just like so. So now our chipboard with the Tyvek is attached to our 65-pound cardstock. And what we're going to do now, I'm happy with the amount of space here on the top and on the bottom, but there's a little too much cardstock on the left and on the right. So I'm going to cut it down to where there's only about like 1.5 inches on the sides. It doesn't have to be a perfect cut. Nobody's going to see it. So like 1 inch, 1.5 inches is what you want to leave there. And now we're going to start to gently work in our cardstock around the chipboard. So very gently start to press upward like so. against your chipboard. And you're going to do this on all 4 sides. You don't want to do any fast or hard creases right away. You want to really you're training your paper to wrap around the cardstock, and you're doing it gently so that it doesn't crack. And once you have worked it all in, then you can go back and really crease it down with your bone folder once the paper is good and worked in, if that makes sense. Okay, there's that. Where is my little corner rounder tool? It never wants to be where it's supposed to be. Alright, I guess we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, which is probably the way you're doing it too, so that's fine. What we're going to do now is cut the corners off of our cardstock here. What you want to do is leave about 1/8 of an inch between the very tip of your chipboard and where you cut the cardstock off. So about like that. You're doing this so that when we do wrap it around, it's not going to show, there's not going to be any chipboard showing here. It's going to completely cover it. That's why it's so important to leave that 1/8 of an inch there. So there's that one. Let's do the third corner and the fourth corner. Now I am going to bring back in my double-sided tape. This is my 1/2 inch tape that I get at Hobby Lobby. And what we're going to do is lay it down here on the very edges of our cardstock. I like to add one on the edge, and I like to add one right next to the chipboard as well. Like so. I'm going to go ahead and do the top. Messed that up. I didn't have it down straight enough. There's that. I fixed it though. And then right next to the chipboard, lay down another piece. I'm going to do the short sides now, right along the edge. Oop, I ripped my tape. Right along the edge. And right up against the chipboard. The fourth and final time. And there we have it. I'm going to take my bone folder, you guessed it, varnish it down so that the tape sticks to the cardstock and it's easy to take the backing of the tape off. Just like that. Now we're going to bring back our pokey tool. I got a different one now. I set that other one down and don't know what I did with it. So just go ahead and start to remove the backing of your double-sided tape. Excuse me, sorry. I've had some indigestion lately too, and it's not fun. I am just a big old mess, I tell ya. Okay, so on top of my double-sided tape, I am going to add some liquid adhesive here in the corners where there is no tape, and then all along the edges as well. Just like that. Now we can bend it over. And stick it down. I like to do the bottom and then I do the top next. And here I'm adding the liquid adhesive again. And folding it over. And there we have it. Now we can do our sides. I'm going to start here with the left side. Before I add my liquid adhesive, I'm going to tuck my corners in. You can see right here, this corner, if we don't tuck this in, it's going to make a really sharp point on the corner. So just use your fingernail or a bone folder to tuck that in, and then it makes it flat. So you're going to do that on both sides. I'm trying to show you exactly what I'm doing, because when I first started, I was like, what do you mean tuck it in? So I hope you can see exactly what I'm doing there. And now I'm going to add my glue and fold her over. There we go. And now we just got one more side left. Take up the tape. Oh, I forgot that tape ripped on me, so there's one more piece to get up. And now we're going to do the same thing and tuck these corners in. I'm just using my fingernail. If you're more comfortable using a bone folder, go ahead and do that. There we have that. And now I'm adding the glue. And folding it over. Excuse me. Okay. Now, I don't recommend bending this until it is nice and dry. We're going to set this aside, and we're going to get ourselves some 65-pound cardstock, along with our trimmer. Right now, I only have the 12 by 12 in the 65-pound cardstock, so that's what I'm going to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut ourselves a piece of 9 3/8. So 9 3/8. by, sorry, I'm thinking. I should have had this planned out, but I didn't. We're going to go 7 1/4. So 9 3/8 by 7 1/4. And then do that twice. So 9 3/8 by 7 1/4. These are really important because these are going to help hold our spine in place. So after a couple of minutes, if your chipboard if you feel like the glue here is nice and dry, you can take your soft bone folder. I do not recommend using a metal tipped score tool for this because it can very easily rip your paper, and then that's not good. So you're going to find your gap here in between the chipboard, and you're just going to use your bone folder to score over the cardstock. And do that on the top and on the bottom for both gaps. And that will help you start to bend your covers like so. So you should end up with something like this. You see it's starting to look like a book. And now we're going to get our spine piece. Something got on this, but it'll still work. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so your spine piece needs to be also 65-pound cardstock, not 110-pound. And it needs to be 8 7/8 by 11 1/4. So you do need a piece of 12 by 12 for this. And again, that measurement, looking at my notes here, is 8 7/8 inch tall by 11 1/4 inch wide. Okay, we're going to get out our scoreboard. Like I said, something got on here, but I'm not worried about it because it's not going to show anyways. Let me see if I can't erase it. I think it's adhesive, or maybe just a little bit of dirt or something. I don't know. Who knows in this craft room. Okay, so you're going to put your piece of 8 7/8 by 11 1/4 here on your scoreboard on the 11 1/4 inch side. We're going to score at 1 1/2, at 2 1/4, 3, 3 1/4, 4 1/2, 5 1/4, 6, 6 3/4, 7 1/2, 8 1/4, 9, and 9 3/4. Okay, that's going to leave you with 1.5 inches at the beginning and 1.5 inches at the end. And you're going to have, you see each space is 3/4 of an inch. We're going to have 4 hinges. Let's see, hinge, gusset, hinge, gusset, hinge, gusset, hinge. So that means there are 4 hinges and 3 gussets. Is that right? Is that right? Does that seem right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 gussets. Okay. Just was trying to clarify there. Okay, so I know it's really hard to see the score lines on this white cardstock, but we can get rid of the scoreboard for now. And what we're going to do is start to pinch our hinges together. The first 2 3/4 of an inch is going to be our first hinge. So you can pinch those 2 together and then fold them, fold it back. And then I like to fold it this way too to start working in the hinge to make it go to the left and to the right. Just like that. So then you're going to skip one of the score marks, and you're going to go to the next 2 scores and pinch these 2 together. Like so. I'm going to crease that down. And then I'm going to bend it this way and this way. And we're going to skip one and go to the next 2 and bend those 2 together into a mountain or peak or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to crease it down, bend it backwards, and crease it again. Like I said, I do this so that it starts to work in the hinges to flow freely from left to right. So this is what's going to hold in our pages. Okay, so you got your third. You should have 3 mountains now. You're going to skip this valley and go to the next 2 hinges and fold them together like that. And then, like I said, I like to crease one way and then the other way. So this is what your hinge system should look like now. We're not going to have to cut the corners or anything because the pages will fit on there. This is going to be exactly 1/8 inch smaller than our pages, and so they will slide right on the hinges without you having to manipulate or cut anything. So we're going to flip this onto the back here and open it up, and we're going to glue our hinges together. I'm going to start right here, add my wet glue, and then fold that hinge on top of the glue. You only need to put, the glue on one side of the hinge. So then when you flip it over, you've got your hinge glued together. That's one down. And now we're going to do our second hinge. You skip one and do the second hinge. Some people like to use double-sided tape for this process. If you like to do that, well then you do you. I won't say anything. I'm just using the wet adhesive because I trust it more than I trust the double-sided tape. And also, I'm on a time crunch because I just don't have much storage on my phone. I wish I knew how to fix it. Like, it said, sometimes it'll give me the option to buy more storage, and I'm like, yes, let me buy more storage, but then something happens and I can't do it, so I don't know. Okay, so then we should have our first 3 hinges glued together like so. And we got one more left, so go ahead and add your glue to that last and final hinge, like so. And then you're going to fold it over on itself. Hope this is easy to understand. I'm never quite sure. Now, for this part, I am going to use both double-sided tape and liquid adhesive because I don't trust just one to hold the entire spine and pages into the album. So, before we do anything, I'm going to add my tape to the hinges on both sides. These are 3/4 inch hinges, and so the 1/2 inch tape will work perfectly. What you want to do is add it to the very edge of your hinge. You don't want it down here in the valley. You want it up here towards the mountain, towards the peak of the hinge. Leaving some room, like a good 1/8 of an inch to a 1/4 inch down here near the valley, because you don't want your page to go that far down on the hinge. You want it to stay on the outskirts of the hinge, if that makes sense. So here I am adding my tape. I find it easier to do it now instead of later. Adding this tape to the hinges like this. It's just easier to do it now than trying to do it when it's attached to your book, So here I am adding this tape to the very outer edge of the hinges. I'm on my 3rd one now. And I hope you can see that, how I'm leaving a good amount of space down here at the bottom of the hinge. That's really important. It's important because if your page is too close to the valley of the hinge, then the page won't turn back and forth, to the left and to the right very smoothly. It'll get caught, and then it's not such a nice book, right? So we want our pages to turn freely. Okay, so here's my last side of my last hinge, adding that tape. Now I'm going to go ahead and, you guessed it, use my bone folder to varnish it all down. And make sure that glue sticks to the cardstock. Okay, now flip this back over to the back. So your hinges here are on the table. And we're going to add double-sided tape all along the back here. I'm going to add 2 pieces here on my 1.5 inch section at the beginning. I'm going to add 1 to the middle of the first little section. And then this one. Oh, I'm running out of tape. Hold on, I have another one somewhere. Where are you, tape? Maybe I have another one. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Here it is, a brand new roll. Put that down like so. And then I'm going to add 2 more pieces here to this 1.5 inch section here. Like I said, I do not trust just one adhesive to hold all the pages in on this together on this spine piece. I'd rather have the extra security of having two adhesives. The adhesive from the double-sided tape and the adhesive from the wet glue, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of trimming here because I went a little bit crazy with the tape. It needs to not stick out like that, so that, because if it's sticking out around the hinge system, then any little piece of fuzz or dirt or glue or whatever will stick to it, and then it looks really crummy. So now we're going to bring back in our cover, and we are going to glue this bad boy in. Now, before I take off all the double-sided tape backing, I'm going to find where I want this lined up. I want to make sure I'm leaving space here on this side and on this side of the gap so that all the hinges are within the spine. We don't want them coming over these gaps, right? I hope that makes sense. And then you want to try to make sure there's the same amount of room down at the bottom that there is at the top as well. So you're centering it the best you can. And let's go ahead and take this tape off, shall we? I'm just throwing the tape backing onto my desk to the side. Just get it done. What the heck is that? A string of some kind. Where are you coming from, string? I don't know. Now it's stuck. Okay. Now, like I said, I don't trust double-sided tape by itself, so I'm going to add a generous amount of my wet glue as well. I don't feel like you have to cover every little space, you know, but I do like to be generous with it. This is not the time to be stingy with your glue. So I'm doing that, and then I'm also going to go around all four edges so that I know it's going to stick down around the edges really well. Just like that. So like I said, we want to make sure it's centered top and bottom and left and right. You don't want, you want your hinges to be between those, but you know, on the 3-inch spine. You do not want them going off of the 3-inch spine. Don't have the best visual in the world, so I hope this is about right. And I'm gonna go for it. Okay. Now that it's down, I am going to use my bone folder to really press it down. First on these edges here, on the 1.5-inch ends of the spine, and then I'm going to go ahead and press down over the first hinge, over the second hinge, third, and fourth. But like I was saying before, I like to work in the hinges, so I am going to turn it to the left and crease it with my bone folder this way as well to all four of the hinges. And that gives you a chance to really get that glue to move around underneath the spine. And you want to make sure that if there's any air bubbles trapped in here, you're getting them out. And by folding the hinges over both ways, that really helps to get those air bubbles out. And there we have it. There is our spine down on our chipboard cover. Now, if you remember, we cut out two pieces of cardstock that were 9 3/8 by 7 1/4, and what we're going to do is use these to help hold this spine in. So we have these 1.5 inch pieces hanging over, and we're going to glue these papers down, and it's going to help to hold it in. So let's go ahead and add glue to one of those pieces of 9 3/8 by 7 1/4. If my glue is going to work, it was just working. And now it wants to act up again. It's been giving me trouble all day today, guys. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm just going to take this little thing off for now. Maybe not. That's weird. Don't start with me, glue. Don't start with me. We're almost done with this part one of the tutorial. Okay. I'm adding some glue here. Like I said, this paper helps to hold the spine in place and doesn't let it go anywhere. I like to line it up, leaving about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of our cover. So about like that. You do not want this to cover your gap in your chipboard, because that's just another layer that is going to make it difficult to bend, and we don't want that. So this is definitely not covering that gap. That's why I line it up to the edge as far as I can over here. And using my bone folder to really get that glued down well. I'm going to do that to the other side as well. Okay. Again, I'm going to line it up here with the outer edge to the left, making sure I'm not putting it down over the gap here, the gap in the chipboard. Centering it up and down as well. I didn't do a good job centering it up and down, so let me try that again. There we go. That's better. Okay. Now we can varnish it all down. Okay, guys, so we're at an hour already, and we have completed part 1 of this tutorial. I will be back in part 2, where we will construct our pages and all of the interactions for the pages. And then in part 3, we'll add our designer paper, mat our designer paper, and add our pop-ups and waterfalls. Before I sign off, we are going to use our soft bone folder again and find that crease between the two pieces of chipboard and very gently go down with your bone folder to make that crease. This is just going to help you get that paper to bend without cracking. So then we're going to do it to this side as well. Again, I do not recommend using a metal pointed score tool. I recommend using these soft Teflon or plastic ones. And that is going to help us bend our cover like that without ripping or cracking our paper. So there we have it, guys. There is our completed cover and hinge system in place. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below and I will get back to you. Stay tuned for part 2 and part 3 of this tutorial. I will link them in the description box down below. Thanks again so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.